All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving headfirst into the completely fascinating and sometimes totally bizarre world of American reptilian humanoid legends. We aren't just going to sit here and rehash spooky folklore, though. We're actually going to explore the surprising and honestly often hilarious real-world truths behind these tales. We'll look at exactly how communities build up these massive myths, how skeptics completely tear them down, and how we humans ultimately just love to embrace the weird.
Here is our agenda for today. 1. American reptilian legends. 2. The Loveland frogman. 3. Terror in the swamp. 4. Skeptics and real explanations. And 5. The human lizard. Let's get into it.
Section 1. American reptilian legends. So, what exactly are we talking about here? Well, a reptilian humanoid is basically a legendary creature, or cryptid, that blends our normal human physical traits with the scaly aquatic features of, say, a lizard or a frog. And these cryptids are incredibly effective because they expertly leverage our natural human attraction to mystery and monsters. Think about it. They almost always pop up in these isolated, swampy areas, or maybe on a dark, lonely road late at night. They perfectly blend our deep-seated fear of the unknown wild with something that looks uncomfortably close to a human being. It is the perfect recipe for a good scare.
Section 2. The Loveland frogman. The whiplash between suspenseful storytelling and mundane reality in this first case is just absolutely incredible. Back in the original 1955 myth from Loveland, Ohio, you had a businessman driving late at night who claimed he saw 3 creatures. He said they were 3 to 4 feet tall, had leathery skin, and literal frog faces. One version of this tale even claimed one of the creatures was holding a wand over its head that fired a spray of sparks. I mean, it's straight out of a fantasy novel. But fast forward to the 1972 reality? Police officer Ray Shockey saw a creature scurry across the road near a boot factory. A couple of weeks later, his colleague, Officer Mark Matthews, spotted a creature in that exact same area, and he actually shot it. So what was this magical, wand-waving beast? It was a 3-foot-long pet iguana. Oh, and it was missing its tail, which is probably what made it look so completely alien in the dark.
The best part is how Officer Matthews handled it. He shot this tailless iguana, literally just tossed the body into the trunk of his cruiser to go show his partner, and essentially provided this incredibly dry, humorous dismissal of the whole terrifying frogman myth. Years later, when the legend totally flared up again because people were playing Pokemon Go near the river, Matthews delivered this fantastic deadpan quote. He said it's like Bigfoot and all that other stuff. I don't believe in Bigfoot either. He just reasonably figured the iguana had been someone's pet that got loose, or maybe they just dumped it when it got too big.
Section 3. Terror in the swamp.
Now let's head down to the sweltering summer of 1988, near Bishopville, South Carolina, where things escalated so incredibly fast. On June 29th, a 17-year-old named Christopher Davis claimed he encountered an absolute monster while he was out changing a flat tire. Just a couple of weeks later, on July 14th, the police had to start investigating some totally bizarre, severe overnight damage to cars in that same area. The hysteria grew so rapidly that by August 5th, an airman stationed at Shaw Air Force Base named Kenneth Orr actually filed a police report claiming he shot the beast. He even presented scales and blood as evidence, though, spoiler alert, he later admitted the entire report was completely faked, just to keep the local legend alive.
But you have to listen to the sheer vividness of Christopher Davis's original description. He said his attacker was green, wet-like, about 7 feet tall, and had 3 fingers, red eyes, skin like a lizard. Davis claimed this massive creature literally charged at him from the swamp, jumped right onto the roof of his car as he desperately tried to drive away, and only fell off when he slammed on his brakes. I mean, it is the ultimate, visceral, campfire tale monster description, right?
And the physical evidence at the time seemed genuinely shocking to people. Multiple vehicles near that swamp suffered massive, completely unexplained destruction. We're talking cars found with ripped-off side mirrors, antennas that were severely bent out of shape, and incredibly deep scratches all along the bodywork. Bizarrely, the chrome trim was seemingly chewed right off these vehicles. It was so specific that the local South Carolina Tourism Board later affectionately dubbed the lizard man a connoisseur of delicious chrome trim.
So what was really lurking out there in the dark? Before we get entirely carried away by the idea of a 7-foot car-eating reptilian monster roaming the American South, let's pivot and look at the skeptical investigation to find out the truth. Section 4. Skeptics and Real Explanations. The crucial takeaway here is that skeptical scrutiny very quickly dismantles the whole Bishopville legend. Investigator Ben Radford really dug into this case and found some massive holes. For starters, Davis's story constantly changed. Sometimes the creature was packed with mud, other times it wasn't. Plus, Radford pointed out a glaring physical impossibility. Davis claimed this bipedal creature was somehow running fast enough to catch up to a car driving 40 miles per hour. Add in the complete lack of any photographic evidence of his car damage, and the little detail that a polygraph test Davis took was actually arranged by a publicity firm, and suddenly this terrifying monster begins to look a whole lot more like a fabricated stunt.
But let's assume for a second it wasn't a stunt. What did Davis actually see? Well, on one side you have the terrifying 7-foot swamp monster, but on the other side you have a local butterbean farmer named Lucius Elmore. Investigator Alicia Lutz suggests that Elmore was actually out guarding his shed from thieves that specific night. When he heard Davis's car tire blow out on the road, he just walked over to investigate the noise. So, the terrifying reality here is that a panicking teenager was probably just severely startled by a completely innocent farmer checking on a loud noise in the pitch black. It just goes to show how wildly our own brains can distort reality when our adrenaline is pumping in the dark.
So why on earth did the story spiral so far out of control then? Well, $1 million. Yep, that is the reward local radio station WCOS offered to anyone who could capture the creature alive. This massive financial incentive totally and artificially inflated the hysteria. It directly motivated people like Kenneth Orr, who we talked about earlier, to actively invent hoaxes with fake blood and fake scales, literally just to keep the story churning in the news cycle.
Section 5. The human lizard.
Now this brings us to a real-life human being who literally goes by the name the Lizard Man. Eric Sprague is such a fascinating individual. He obviously wasn't born in a swamp. He actually left behind a PhD program at the University at Albany and utilized his philosophy degree from Hartwick College to consciously and deliberately transform himself into a professional sideshow performer. Sprague proves something really profound. While the cryptids themselves might be totally fake, the human desire to emulate them, to literally become the monster, is very, very real. And to achieve this, Sprague underwent some absolutely incredible body modifications. We're talking full-body green scale tattoos, a bifurcated, meaning split tongue, human tooth sharpening, actual subdermal implants to alter the entire shape of his face, and green inked lips. And through these intense modifications, he built a legendary career performing acts like fire-eating and sword-swallowing. He's toured with massive rock bands like Slipknot and Slayer, and get this, he even earned a Guinness World Record in Milan, Italy for the heaviest weight lifted and spun using his pierced ears. Unbelievable. And Sprague is definitely not the only one capitalizing on the bizarre. Entire towns completely rely on these legends to drive their local economies. Bishopville leans so heavily into their cryptid that the South Carolina Emergency Management Division even jokingly tweeted out warnings to remain vigilant for the Lizard Man during the 2017 solar eclipse. Meanwhile, in 2023, Loveland officially adopted the Frogman as its city mascot, even featuring a frog dressed as a prince at their local Hearts of Fire weekend celebration. We take these completely debunked monsters and we transform them into highly profitable tourism engines and cultural landmarks.
Which leaves us with one final, lingering thought for you to take away today. If these terrifying monsters are almost always proven to be nothing more than missing pet iguanas and startled butterbean farmers, why is it in our human nature to prefer the terrifying myth over the simple reality? We tattoo our bodies to look like them, we build massive town festivals around them, and we enthusiastically pass their stories down for generations. Maybe, just maybe, we like knowing that the world still holds a few dark, mysterious corners. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your eyes on the road, and I will see you next time.